I want to just leave the people with one financial planning gem heading into 2021. Since this is our last show of the year, we want to give you as much information as possible. We gave a lot of information on this show, all the shows, but I wanted to say this. Life insurance is something that we haven't really talked about too much. It's a pivotal part of the planning process. And a lot of times, people are familiar with, just term insurance, whole life insurance is a debate, like which better, term, whole life. The purpose of like an individual life insurance policy is to actually, provide a death benefit protection for somebody else. Like a lot of times if you're married, it'll be for your spouse, right? So it's like if I have a policy and I'm married, then it would go to my wife. Or if I was married, my wife has a policy, I would be her beneficiary. But what's not talked about enough, and there's another way to actually create generational wealth long term, more of a trust situation, is the second to die survivorship policy. So we talked about that on with the family pack with Trap, but briefly I'll just go into it. That's a policy where actually it's on two people's lives and it pays out after the second person dies. So if a husband and a wife both have a second to die policy, then the policy pays out after the second person dies. It's beneficial because it's a lower premium because it's insuring two people's lives instead of one person, and that money is like going to directly to the children or directly to the heirs. Most of the time it'll be the children. So you can have different portfolios. Once you start to learn the investment language, it relates to a lot of different things. So like how you have in a portfolio with investing, you can have a portfolio with life insurance. So you can have individual life insurance policies on you and your wife, and that goes to make sure that y'all good, if one of you pass away. But then you have a second to die survivorship policy on each other, and that goes to the kids or to the grandkids, 30, 40 years down the line. So, and of course, with life insurance, it's tax free. You can also set it up in a trust and a bunch of other things, how you can actually structure that. So yeah, that's another thing I felt like maybe we should talk about a little bit. So I just wanted to just chime that in there because it's not something that's talked about enough. And a lot of times people have the misconception with life insurance, like it's just a one trick pony. But you can do a variety of different things for it. You can solve a variety of different problems with life insurance. And there's different types of policies for different types of cases, like a toolbox. So you got to know which policy fits which circumstance. So, yeah.
What is the best policy in your opinion? And then also for homework, I want you guys to go look up what the asymmetrical risk to reward is if you get $1 million policy. So how much you'll pay out over 20 years versus what the payout would be. But what do you think is the best kind of life insurance policy?
For me personally, I try not to say like one thing is better than the other, but I personally think that whatever your situation allows you to. So term insurance is great if you have if you have a limited budget and you need life insurance, or if you only want life insurance for a certain period of time, term insurance. If you want a permanent policy and you want to build cash value, then whole life insurance. If you want a hybrid of both, if you want a permanent policy, but you don't want to build cash value, then there's a thing called guaranteed protection universal life. A lot of people don't know about that either. They think it's either one or the other, like it's either term or it's whole life, but there's actually a middle ground, because the thing with term is that 95% of term policies never pay out because most people don't die within that term. The knock on whole life is that the premiums are too rich and people can't afford it. And they're like, I don't want to mix my investing with my life insurance. But you might want a permanent policy that's guaranteed to be there, with a lower premium than whole life, but it doesn't have an expiration date like term. So that would be a guaranteed protection universal life. If you want to take a little bit more risk and have the money invested in the stock market, then you can go variable universal life or index universal life, which mirrors the S&P 500. So I say that to say, I don't really think that there is like one particular best case scenario. The best insurance is just some insurance. Everybody should have some life insurance, even if it's just insurance at your job. That's not the most optimal solution just to have that. But, going into 2021, let's make it a resolution that there's not going to be any more GoFundMes. We're not going to argue. Some people minor over small things, and they'll argue all day about term and whole life like they own the insurance companies. Like, we're getting distracted from the bigger picture, which is just to have life insurance and just to make sure that your family can bury you, and just to make sure that your children have a head start in life if you're not here to take care of them. And everybody dies. That's the one common denominator with life. And it's like, we can't be spooky, and we can't think like if we plan for our death, that's going to make us die. You're going to die regardless. So you might as well plan for it and be prepared for it and leave your family as a blessing and not a burden. So something to think about as we make our New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, that was advice that I got from my financial advisor at 26. Your death is your responsibility, not your family's. And so those are wise words from a brilliant man. Can you remind them who your first client was?
Wise words from a decent man. Shout out to Drake, man. Yeah, Troy was my first client.
Big fat.
That was my first client.
And your last one.
My most recent
one. Most recent one.
People don't know. I still have a thriving financial planning business.
I had to schedule. Even I had to schedule a meeting, y'all. There's no favoritism.
Shout out to Tahira. Shout out to,
shout out
to my administrative assistant, who's also my sister. Appreciate you.
Y'all sleep on CrowdStrike this year. Shout out to Trap CrowdStrike.
Woo!
300% for the year. Tesla up 750%.
Trap gave me. So we went over some of our picks for 2021. Ian, you want to give one that you were looking at? Me and Trap had a conversation. We was going back and forth. He was like, "Yo, I got 3 of your joints." I'm like, "Yo, I got 4 of your joints."
I'm gonna wait to 21. Nope, I've given 60. Although I know I don't give enough. I understand. I'm gonna come back 2021. I'm gonna tell you guys, top of the year, please tap in, listen, execute. I got you. Trust me, I got you.
That's a fact, man. I'll take the first words and I'll let everybody else end it. Give Ian the last word. But just want to thank everybody for their support. Market Mondays was a revolutionary. It might seem common now because there's a bunch of other shows that kind of have mirrored that, and that's dope. But you gotta remember at the time, it was a revolutionary idea to have a live stock show on YouTube from our cultural experience. Like nobody was doing that. And Ian was humble enough to come to us and like, yo, I want to do a show. And as opposed to me doing my own show, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all already got a blueprint in place. Y'all got a system in place. Y'all already helped me with my episode. Shout out to episode 70. Y'all got to check that out. He's like, yo, I want to work with y'all. I want to do it as a collaboration. And that was the birth of Market Mondays around April.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of these things that just took off like wildfire. So thank you to everybody that has championed Market Mondays, that has watched Market Mondays, that has told a friend about Market Mondays, that has put it in their stories after Market Mondays is over. Hope that you guys were able to make some money. Hope that you guys were able to get some vital, valuable information. But like I always say, if you're not actually implementing the information, then it's just entertainment. And we just don't want to be entertainers. We want to be educators. So during this time, we'll be off for next week. Make sure if you have time to check out the back episodes of Market Mondays. It's on podcast outlets as well. So you can listen to the audio, but on YouTube, you can check out the back episodes of Market Mondays, educate yourself. And we will be back in 2021 with a vengeance. We'll be back with a
big show. A
lot of great guests. We'll be back with new subject matter, new talking matters. And that's the good thing with the stock market. Is always something to talk about. So I just want to leave you guys with gratitude. Say thank you. A lot of people say they always think I have an attitude. I'm like, but I'm extremely grateful. I'm extremely humbled by the outpouring of support that we have received, not only from Earn Your Leisure, but from Market Mondays, which has become.
You get a little rage when I mess up that Zoom, no?
It's all good.
That's like you throw me the ball and I airball the game winner. You're like, yo, he's in the corner by yourself.
Who pulled the clock? Who pulled the plug out?
Right?
That's a fact. But yeah, man, thank you.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
A mic drop.
Bag drop.